We've discussed over the last couple of years sadhana bhakti and vaidhi sadhana and raganuga sadhana, and now we're on bhava bhakti. This is the first verse, which is Jiva Goswami gives a very elaborate commentary, which is Pujapad Srila Bhava Swami Maharaj has very nicely translated and given us. And I just like different points. It gets so technical, and I can't just absorb it all and present it in a very poetic and eloquent fashion, because I really haven't sufficiently assimilated it myself. But let's read what we have. We've been reading through the purport, and this particular, we're talking. First, I'll review the verse, and then give the translation and go into this purport. This is the third wave of Bhava Bhakti, Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu. This is October 25th, 2010. Shuddha Sattva Vishesh Atma, Prema Sriyam Shu Samyabhak, Ruchibish Chitta Masrinya, Krit Aso Bhava Uchite. That division of Bhakti, or level of Bhakti, which is called Bhav, is made of the essence of Samvit and Madhini Shakti, which is known as Bhakti proper. This is one ray of the sun of Prema, which will soon rise in the heart. And after that ray of Prema, or pure Bhakti, aka Samvit and Madhini Shakti, blended together, when that ray of Prema or Bhava enters the heart, it creates an effect of softening the heart. And that softened heart expresses particular symptoms and creates certain actions in the individual who has received the touch of that ray of Prema. The heart becomes so softened. Softened means that we say that, it's said in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, when one chants Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, if tears do not come to his eyes, it indicates that his heart is steel framed. In other words, steel is a very hard object. We say case hardened or something like this. It's very hard. So what makes the heart hard? What makes the heart hard are material desires. They're heavy, they're thick, and they're hard. They're dense. And they make one very heavy and thick and hard and dense. They're coverings of the pure, light, joyful, delightful Atma. Prabhupada said everyone wants to be like a transcendental spaceman, like Narada Muni is a transcendental spaceman. He's unencumbered. He's free. There's no heavy baggage. Nothing hard nothing hard. We say he's light-hearted. Prabhupada was extremely grave in terms of his purpose. His intention and his purpose and his actions are very grave and very dira. But he was extremely light-hearted. He could be the funniest person in the world. And he was always, at every second of his manifested presence here, he was always the most joyful and blissful entity anyone could ever meet. Because his heart was completely softened by Radharani's touch, by Radharani's mercy. So the Bhava Bhakta, because all the heart has been purified and all the heavy articles have been removed, all the anarthas, and obstacles and heavy weights of the heart, they've been removed, and now the heart is softened. And what does it mean, softened heart? Like a heart, there's a soft heart, and there's a soft heart, and there's a hard heart. And the hard heart is such that nothing happens when we chant Hare Krishna, we don't cry. But when the heart is softened by ray of bhav, just like if you have a very strong ray of heat, it can melt something, it can melt an object. You have this laser saw. It creates a concentrated beam of light, laser, and you focus it on a piece of steel and you cut through the steel. It melts it. It's concentrated, it looks like a light beam, you see? Laser saw. It's not some mechanical arrangement of a blade or some old-fashioned thing. It's laser. Tivrina, bhakti yogina, like a laser. And just hold it and you just see light, zzz, cuts through the steel. So when that ray of bhava, that ray of prema, which is bhava, is like a laser. And it cuts through the steel covering of her heart and destroys all those hard objects. Now that the heart is softened, it expresses itself not as material desires, which are so hard and dense and thick and heavy, but the heart expresses intense desires to meet Krishna. To meet Krishna, to serve Krishna, and exchange love with Krishna. Because that's what service is all about. That's what meeting and service is all about. It's all about exchanging love. We meet Him to serve Him, and we serve Him to love Him. And our service is our love, and our love is our service. This is bhav. This is the definition. It's appealing. It's pure. So then he explains this whole purport. This is the definition. And then he explains, so this section talks about the descent of bhav and the actions of bhav. Then how bhav enters the heart. This is a review for everyone mostly. Krishna's Swarup Shakti, which is a combination, his internal spiritual Swarup Shakti, which is a combination of his Ladini Shakti and Samvit, means basically Bhakti is Radha and Krishna. Samvit Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, and Ladini Radha. So Bhakti is generally told because it's a Shakti. It's not a Purusha, it's a Shakti. Bhakti is called a Devi. Shakti is a Devi or feminine. There's Sandhya Devi, there's also Sadhana Devi. There's a personified energy of Sadhana Devi, and Bhakti Devi. Bhakti Devi is an amsha of Radharani. When the two Shaktis combine, Ladini Shakti is Radha, and when she takes the Samvit Shakti of Krishna, then she manifests as Bhakti Devi. Because she says, she sees, I'm looking for more people to serve my Sham, for more souls. And I see that you become qualified to be utilized by me. So then she enters her heart, Bhakti enters her heart and dances there and moves there. So this is the descent of Bhakti Devi into the heart. Just like Vasudeva, Balaram descended into his heart, and then Krishna, then Balaram descended into the heart of Vasudeva, and then Krishna. So this Bhakti, or this Swarup Shakti, this bhava, descends from the hearts of the eternal associates of Krishna and appears in the mind of the advanced devotee. And then this bhava creates a variety of mental conditions, which are called chitta vritti. And the main characteristic of the mind at this time is one that has a very favorable attitude towards the Lord. And then ruchi bish chitta masrinya, the chitta becomes soft. That fine layer of distinction between the ego and the Atma is called chitta. It's very interesting. There's one purport in the third canto of Bhagavatam, which I never saw before, but we're giving a class recently in Delhi in June or so. And I had heard this and had this discussion. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhumira podmulo vayu kamano bidar evacha ankara iti yaman bina prakriti ashtata. Ashta. There's 8 separated energies which constitute the living entity. The conditioned soul has a body made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. This is called the linga sharir, gross body. Then the shukshma sharir, subtle body, is man, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Man, buddhi, and hankara. That's 8. And we see this word chaito and chitta. We say chit is heart, chit is mind, chit is spiritual energy. Many changeable words here to define this one entity. But chitta, C-H-I-T-T-A, chitta is actually the ninth covering, or the ninth layer. And this is where the samskaras are stored, and carries the samskaras from life to life. And the false ego and the intelligence, mind, senses, these are just some operating programs based on the software. The actual foundation of the whole computer is the chitta. And there's a purport in the third canto of Bhagavatam, I believe it's Kapila's teachings, where Prabhupada talks about the ninth covering, the ninth layer is the chitta. I was so happy to see that, because as we know, Bhagavatam is the graduate study. Sankita is giving us a very composite and good view of the whole reality of the five tattvas, Jiva tattva and Prakriti and Kala and Bhagavan and action, karma, etc. But it's a little more than that. And when you read the Yoga Shastras and you read deeper into the subject matter, you find that there is a whole entity just as real as Hankara, just as real as mind. And even this is actually the most important aspect, is the chitta. So I don't want to be forever in kindergarten. I would like to go on to first grade, second grade. And it's all just expansion of the same foundation of knowledge. That what is the foundation? I'm not the body. I'm Krishna's eternal servant, and I'm meant to serve and love Krishna. Bhas. Chant Krishna, take prasadam, serve Guru day and night, and go back to Godhead. What's the problem? Why all this knowledge, all these things? But for those that are interested in going a little deeper and their mind demands that, it's all there. As they say, everything is in Prabhupada's books. Well, I've been trying to somewhat superficially read Prabhupada's books for a few years, and I never really saw that before. And it was my turn to give class on a verse with that very purport, and I said, wow. I said, that's all I need. Prabhupada said that the ninth covering and ninth layer, between is this chitta. And you were there for that class? So then everyone was like, what's this? This is Prabhupada. And then I was inquisitive about this since I heard the Shikshastra. Chitta, what is this chitta? Well, the samskaras have to be karmani nirdahati kintucha bhakti bhajan. Brahma Samhita says karmani nirdahati, that the karmas has to be destroyed by bhakti bhajan. Well, where they are, and then how does the mind interact with the senses? And it was very clear. I explained the whole chemistry from giving an example. You see something, how that object goes from the indriya, goes from the indriya to the chitta. It goes from the chitta, and then it passes from the chitta through the false ego, then it goes to the mind, and then back, and then action. I described the whole thing. It just flowed. I didn't even have any notes, I just understood how it worked. At least I think so, and even I prefaced my talk by saying, I hope I'm right. But I feel myself to be right by the mercy of Prabhupada, and that one sentence told it all for me, because everything I had studied and the research I had done on this topic. So this is dare to be different. I mean, we have to follow our heart. The music of our heart will make us dance in a particular direction. So when this ingress of bhava bhakti comes from the associates of the Lord or the enlightened, benevolent acharyas in our illustrious parampara, they deem us fit to be recipients of their causeless mercy, then this bhava will descend upon us. Because you can get any number of bodies, but without bhava, they don't work. You can have so many dead bodies lying in a morgue, but without the Atma, they don't move. So in the spiritual world, you enter the spiritual world in the strength of bhav, and you move in the spiritual world and exchange with Krishna in the spiritual world in the strength of bhav. The depth and extent of the bhav. Radharani's body, she doesn't have a body. She doesn't have a siddhadeha. Her body is Mahabhav Swarupini. Her color is bhav, her hair is bhav, her feeling, everything is Mahabhav. Bhav precedes the body. Not that the body precedes the bhav. It's basic. What we have in the modern world is body first, bhav later, or maybe never, later or never, as we say. Better late than never, but maybe late and never. And at least Krishna says it first bhav. Krishna says first bhav and then body. Rupa Goswami says first bhav and then body. So we tend to follow Krishna, Rupa Goswami. It's very basic. Yam yam vapi swaran bhav. Cultivate bhav. Whole life is all about cultivating bhav. Bhav for wife, or husband, or whatever. Money, control, power. Then you get the body. You die, you cultivated this bhav, you get this body. Bingo is given. You get color, you get form, you get dress, you get language, you get seva. You get a place, you get a seva kunj, you get a place to live, you get a nishta, you get someone to worship. Isn't it? A man cultivates bhav for his wife. That's natural. So affectionate, so dear, so sweet. That's natural. If he's not attached, then he's some kind of crazy person. Wife, oh so nice. Thinking bhav, then dying, remembering wife. Next slide. Hey, I'm a gopi, or at least a woman. It's got the form, and with this kind of clothes and this color of skin. I'm an Indian gopi. I have brown skin. I'm a Bengali gopi. I have golden skin. And this is my name. You get Ekadash Bhav. Don't you? You get a place. Everything. Automatically. You don't have to think. While you're going in, and the old man is dying, he says, well, next life I'm going to be a woman because I'm so attached to my wife. So I should get initiated into my woman's body and start thinking, I'm Mrs. Jones, I'm born in Frankfurt, and this is my place of seva, and this is my... As soon as you die, you get the body. Look at the first canto of Bhagavatam. Narada Muni, as soon as it says it just like, how much time does it take to take a needle? If you make a petal garland, you have 100 petals, so many little petals, and then you put the needle through the petals. How much time does it take to go from one petal to 100 petals? So this one analogy is used. He gave up this body, and that fast he received a Siddhadeha. You don't read anywhere Narada Muni sat down, he had some charts of Radharani's house and Krishna's house and Yoga Pit, and he was meditating this way, that way. That can be done. That was all presented in the 1800s by Siddha Krishnadas to keep people busy. They had no engagement. He was a Siddha. He was seeing it. He was there. He dipped into it. But then all these young people come to Radhakund and Govardhan, Bhavas, and they don't know what to do all day. There's no engagement. They don't know how to go out to every town and village. They read this thing in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Every town and village, anyway, I don't know, forget about that. They can't understand the integration or the connection between Lord Gauranga's Goshyanandi concept and Bhajananda concept, so that they just ran with one line of thought and developed a whole structure around it. But if you read all the books of the Goswamis, read them, go ahead, I challenge anyone. There's nothing mentioned there about Siddha Pranali. There's, Seva Sadhak Rupena Sirupena Chatri is at the level of sadhana bhakti. It's Raganuga sadhana to Sirupena Chatri, to meditate on Sirupa. Now what does that mean? There's so many, that's the Antas Chintadeya. But that meditation is, there's the Shravana Dasha in that line, when the Lova Mayi Shraddha is awakened. Reading in that line, cultivating the adhikar and ruchi for that. And then it's, the ruchi becomes so great, then there's particular templates or generic meditations that are given in the old ancient books, which is basically almost like Siddha Pranali, but not exactly. So you have the basic, the basic, just like the man who's attached to his wife, he has the basic idea, oh, I'm like my wife, she's like this. But what specifics he's going to get in the next life, he's not aware of. But because of the content of his meditation, the content of his attachment, absorption, is specified in a particular form, his wife, then he will definitely get the form of wife. And then the particulars, that's arranged by karmana daivanechena jantur dehopapatiye. verses in the third canto. Karmana devinechena jantur deho bhavati. Deho upapata. That the body that one gets is determined by its karmic activities, punya and pap, and the arrangement of the daivic arrangement. It means the celestial arrangement of the demigods controlling all the senses and elements, and the daiva means the supreme daiva is Krishna, Paramatma. That's how we get our next body, it's told in Kapila Shiksha. So everyone's fretting and worrying, I don't have my Siddha Deha. I'm a failure. Interesting idea. But Siddha Deha without any Siddha Bhav is nowhere. It's a very extremely gurus and saintly people have developed this as a methodology of bhajan to give the Siddha Deha. It's mentioned in Harinam Chintamani by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He received Siddha Deha from his guru. But then 6 years later, when he wrote Nam Bhajan, to give his swan song, his final word to the world, these are the secrets of my lifelong bhajan, that you can all be attained by Nam. Nam Bhajan. He's giving 200 verses to explain 8 steps of bhajan, the progressive path of bhajan, supported by 200 verses, which expand the understanding and application of Shikshastakam and the 8 pairs of the holy name, and the 9 limbs of devotion from Shraddha to Prema, combining these elements together to create a path of bhajan. Because someone, an illustrious acharya and well-wisher of that caliber, is certainly not going to leave something unsaid in the last years of his life. And when he actually retired from family life and all the entanglements, and entered into the Bhakti Kuti, this is the bhajan that he practiced throughout the day and the night. And his intention was, when a sadhaka, of course it's supposed to be Bhakti Rasamrta, that's all kind of related. When a sadhaka disentangles himself from the extraneous endeavors and actions of maintaining and family, he should spend his whole day with this book. It's told in the introduction. Of course there's sleeping is there in the day, and eating, and the basic maintenance of the body and environment we live in, cleaning the house, etc. But we're retired, and we can spend the whole day, morning to noon. He said, every day the sadhaka should go through read my book, little bits and pieces of 8 sections every day, just day after day after day. Keep chanting. Chant and read and be happy. We're happy when we know who we are. We're happy when we know who Krishna is. So how to find that happiness, and how to find ourselves, and how to find Krishna. He's giving his way. And in this particular age, he's a seer. He's a seer. He's not a traditionalist. Traditionalists just carry the ball and pass it on to the next one. But there's what they call visionaries. I don't know how you say in other languages, but there's visionaries, the seers, the inventors, the what do they call it? Da Vinci's and the great scientists. So he's Trikalagya. Trikalagya means a spiritual scientist, a spiritual visionary. He's singing. Obviously he's Trikalagya, he's making forecasts. I foresee a day when the people from the foreign lands, from Germany and England and America and Russia, they'll join their Bengali god brothers on the banks of the Ganga and at Yoga Pit, and they will chant Jaya Shachi Nandana, Jaya Shachi Nandana. I foresee the day. He spoke that in 1910. And when did the day come? How? A long time? 3,000, 10 million years later, like this, who's the guy that makes predictions in Europe or something? What's the guy? Famous guy? Nostradamus. I don't know, I can't remember the name. But this is Nostradamus, and so I don't know, maybe some things are true or not, I never really pursued that. But I know about our acharyas, and what they say comes true. Satyavacham. Because they're Brahmins and they're backed by God. I don't know, maybe Nostradamus is backed by God too. I don't know anything about this individual, really, to fairly speak anything. But I do know without a doubt that the great devotees are backed by God, and that's a good backing. Satyavacham. Brahm Satyam Chadimahi. So they are worshipping Satyam Sundaram Shivaram. Krishna is Satyam Shivaram Sundaram. So when they speak, it's true. Satyavacha. And great saints have Vag Siddhi. Vag Siddhi means perfection. Whatever they say comes true. These are powers given by God. So Bhaktivinoda doesn't have those powers? Certainly he does. So he's saying, I foresee a day, and that day happened 76 years later. 1910 he said this. 1986 it happened, and Jai Sachinandan Swami Maharaj, he was there, dancing with his German brothers and his American brothers and Bengali brothers, everyone dancing. Jai Sachinandan. It happened. It really happened. So similarly, he's saying, it will happen. We will get our Siddhadeha. We will enter the Leela by following this path of Nam Bhajan. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur it's giving a very realistic and wonderful path. And our Prabhupada is propagating that. And Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Ki Jai. We're discussing the descent of bhav into the heart and the actions of bhav once bhav appears in the heart. And we'll hopefully continue that tomorrow by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada.